Today, we're going to dive into one of the most fundamental tools we have for making sense of the world: reason. I mean, we use it every single day, but what is it really, and how does it actually give us knowledge? Seriously, think about it for a second. How do you know that? You don't need to go out and conduct an experiment. You don't need to pull up a memory of being told it. You just know it, right? Well, this simple little question opens up a massive philosophical puzzle about where that certainty actually comes from, because it's not from our senses. So where then? Well, the answer lies in thinking about reason not as some passive calculator, but as a powerful, active source of knowledge all on its own. You see, in epistemology, the study of knowledge, philosophers point to a few key ways we justify what we believe. We've got perception, what we see and hear. There's introspection, our awareness of our own thoughts, memory, what people tell us, testimony. And then there's reason, sitting in a category all by itself.
And this is where it gets really interesting. Most of our sources of knowledge are reactive. We need something to happen to us. We have to see something or remember something. But reason? Reason is active. We can literally generate knowledge anytime, anywhere, just by thinking. It's kind of like a mental superpower we can fire up at will. Okay, so how does this active power actually work? Well, one way to think about it is as a two-part system. You've got a spark that ignites the knowledge and an engine that builds on it. So let's start with that spark.
This spark is what philosophers call rational intuition. Now, this isn't some mystical gut feeling. It's a direct, intellectual seeing. It's that moment when you just get something. You grasp its truth immediately, without having to walk through a bunch of logical steps to get there.
Take a look at this sentence. You don't need to see the trees, right? You don't need to get out a measuring tape. Just by understanding the concepts, what taller and shorter mean, you know that statement has to be true. Your reason just intuits it directly. That's what we call a self-evident proposition. This kind of knowledge has a special name. It's called a priori. It sounds fancy, but the idea is actually pretty simple. It just means that the justification for your belief doesn't come from your five senses. You know that 2 + 2 is 4 is true, and that knowledge is completely independent of any specific experience you've had in the world. Now, here's a really crucial point. You might be thinking, hold on, I had to learn what the word taller means from experience. And you're absolutely right. We depend on experience to learn our concepts. That's the genetic part. But, and this is the key, once you have those concepts, the reason you know the statement is true, your justification, comes from your rational mind alone, not from the original experience.
Okay, so if intuition is the spark, what's the engine that puts that spark to work? Well, that engine is called inference, and it lets us take those little initial sparks and build them into something so much bigger. Inference is just the process of taking things we already believe, those intuitive sparks, and using them to build bridges to new beliefs. It's the engine that extends that initial justification from one idea to the next, letting us derive brand new truths from what we already know. This classic example makes it all crystal clear. You start with a spark, an intuitive premise. All men are mortal. Okay, got it. Then you add another known fact. Socrates is a man. The engine of deduction kicks in, and boom, it produces new knowledge that's logically guaranteed. Therefore, Socrates is mortal. Spark to engine to new knowledge. And this whole idea leads us straight into one of the biggest, most epic debates in the entire history of philosophy. The central question is this: just how powerful is this engine? How far can reason, all by itself, actually take us? So, before we get to the big disagreement, let's talk about the one thing that everyone pretty much agrees on. Reason can definitely give us knowledge of what are called analytic propositions. These are basically just truths by definition. I mean, you don't need to go out and check a bunch of foxes to know that a vixen is female. The answer is already baked right into the word itself. All right, so here's the core of the fight. On one side, you have the rationalists. They think our reasoning engine is incredibly powerful. So powerful that it can discover deep truths about the universe, even truths that are superior to what our senses tell us. On the other side, you have the empiricists. They argue that, no, reason is more like a librarian. It's great at organizing all the concepts we get from our senses, but it can't actually generate any new information about the outside world all by itself. This is the real battleground. Can reason give us synthetic a priori knowledge? In other words, can it tell us something new and meaningful about reality itself, not just about our own definitions? Think about this. Nothing can be red and green all over at the same time. That's not true by definition, but you know it's true, and you didn't have to go check every object in the universe to confirm it.
A rationalist would say, see, that's reason giving you a direct look at the rules of reality. An empiricist would be more skeptical, saying that any real knowledge about the world has to start with observation. But look, no matter where you land in that huge debate, there's a final, absolutely vital role that reason plays in the actual architecture of all our knowledge. I want you to think about any belief you hold. Why do you believe it? Well, probably because of some other belief. And why do you believe that one? You see the problem, right? If every belief needs another belief to hold it up, you get an endless chain going back forever, an infinite regress. And if that's the case, nothing is ever truly justified. That chain has to stop somewhere. Reason provides those stopping points. Those foundational, self-evident truths that we know through intuition, they act as the bedrock for everything else. They are the unmoved movers of our belief system. They don't need anything else to support them. They are what supports everything else. And the justification that reason gives us can be incredibly powerful, rock solid. Some of these foundational truths are what philosophers call indefeasible. That means they're so secure, so certain, that it's basically impossible to even understand them and still be wrong. I mean, think about 2 + 2 = 4 again. Could you really, truly be mistaken about that? So all of this leaves us with a final, big question for you. When you trace your own beliefs, your own chains of justification, all the way down to the bottom, what do you find? What are the self-evident truths grasped by your own reason that form the ultimate bedrock of everything you know?